Hey guys, so my name is Matt Suter, and I was assigned the task of examining ways to manage absenteeism, reducing turnover, and retaining staff. Now, I am in Group 2 in Nursing 420. So some outcomes we want to take a look at. I'm going to explain absenteeism, how to manage it. I'm going to describe how nursing turnover affects the organization, and I'm going to examine what organizations can do to improve retention of nurses. So nurses truly are the backbone of healthcare, and we need to do everything we can to retain and keep them happy. So managing absenteeism. So two types of absenteeism, voluntary and involuntary. Voluntary is deciding to take a day other than go to work, in almost being in perfect health. You can see my little picture there. It's how it feels to be when you fake sick and it works. So again, this can be related to personal qualities. Actually, if a person is motivated to go to work, okay, the job nature, and obviously, it's nice to work in hospitals. There are air conditioning in the summer. They're heated in the winter. There are some heavy patients, but I think that the job nature overall, it's a great job. So there are other jobs that could lead to higher rates of burnout. Okay. The other is absent culture. So depending on what organization you're in or nursing unit that you work on, there could be an absence culture where, the manager doesn't tend to enforce policies related to the organization as far as, how many days you can call off, how often you can call off, and, really not advocating for their employees to get the days off that they need, and just allowing employees to really just kind of abuse policy. Okay. Last but not least, the labor market. Obviously, if nurses are not in demand and there are no jobs, nurses tend to stay where they are and they don't take days off. They want to make sure that they have a secure job. If there are more jobs and the labor market is booming, I think in any market, I think employees would tend to say, well, I can abuse being absent, and if so-and-so has a problem with that, well, I'll just seek another job. So how do we manage the absenteeism? Here's some strategies. So enriching the staff nurse's job by increasing its responsibility, variety, and challenge. So you have to do away with the monotony of not really having any control over one's day. People tend to be more happy when they can control their environment, their schedule, that type of stuff. So allowing that to happen is going to curb people from just wanting not to be at work. You can reduce job stress, so reducing burnout, keeping staff happy. Again, staffing levels, making sure there are enough people around to do the job, and people there to help the nurses. So this could be adding more nurses, or just adding more nurses' aides, increasing the delegation and able to do more with less, You want to create a norm of excellent attendance. So having more nurses that show up to work every single day, or rarely miss a shift, it encourages everyone to want to be like that. If you have troublemakers, everyone tends to kind of follow the flock. If you improve coworker relations, so if people have interprofessional relationships, and they actually have higher, personal relationships where they tend to maybe want to entertain each other outside of work or carry on, professional relationships. That tends to make people happy. And when people are happy, they want to go to work. Rewarding good attendance, I think from just based on my experience of, I would be very happy if I was rewarded for taking less sick days than another person. I think in my annual review, if there were some pay scale based on how many days I actually took off that were sick days, and I was rewarded for that with higher pay, I would definitely not take as many sick days. We want to encourage the use of personal plan days and not sick days. So if I was going to my manager and say I needed a random Thursday off, and it's Wednesday, and they just said, well, that's fine. We will make do. You take your day off. You do what you have to do, and we will man the ship. If this was more encouraged as opposed to, the not allowing staff to have that flexibility and say, well, I can't give you off, I'm sorry. Say even there was a death in the family or so on. The flexibility really goes a long way, and I think to develop that relationship, you don't want to create a culture where employees don't come to their manager and just take the day no matter what. That the cost of that is severe. And lastly, again, you want to enforce the absenteeism control policies. You don't want to encourage employees to learn of the troublemaker, say, that may be abusing the attendance policy of calling off every 30 days and creating a routine of this, or taking multiple sick days off and not really having an excuse and just really just relying on, well, the manager's not going to enforce the policy. That doesn't go very well. So staff turnover. So again, there's voluntary and involuntary turnover. Voluntary is nurses leaving an organization to take a better position, maybe a higher pay or different location, or maybe even a different specialty. Okay, this can be reliant upon education, their areas of specialization, their age, and their geographic mobility. So really, how qualified are they for a position? What position might be in need? How obviously the younger you were to be able to have a little bit more mobility. Say you're 21 and single, well, you have a higher chance of probability of moving somewhere or taking jobs that may not be able to be taken by someone that might be married or not able to leave the area right away. Cost of turnover. So here's a study that I found that pretty much puts a monetary figure on nurse turnover. So it costs about $40,000 in general to retrain a nurse. This is based in 2007. I had a nurse residency program that actually showed this was significantly higher. So I think we're probably closer to that 60 grand now than anything. Organizations cannot afford to lose their nurses, and in great numbers. You need to create a culture that keeps nurses happy and keeps them, staying within the organization. So how do we do that? Job satisfaction. Number one, they have to be happy with their job. Okay. They have to enjoy doing their job. With nurse-physician relationships have to be good. There's a lot of different things that come into play there. Okay. Healthy work environment. Again, you have to encourage teamwork. encourage employees having relationships with one another professionally. And they have to enjoy being around each other. Chances are, if they don't enjoy being around or working with each other, they're most likely going to leave or look for other opportunities. You can improve their salaries. So, again, depending on experience, nurses like to have improved salaries. Obviously, the more experience you have, you should be paid more, and the less, they should start closer to the bottom. Facilitate interorganizational movement. So there have to be chances to move around the organization. There have to be promotion opportunities. This can lead to burnout if somebody's just stagnant in a position. Obviously, they're going to want to, develop. An organization may ultimately have to adapt to some type of turnover rate, and hopefully that's low. So ultimately, you're not going to make everyone happy. People are going to leave no matter what the circumstances, and you have to be able to curtail that. So, a nice little quote: a bad manager can take a good staff and destroy it, causing the best employees to flee and the remainder to lose all motivation. So, even if you have great staff, if you don't have a great leader, you can really just damage a part of the organization. So, I have a little video here. Very funny video. This is from Office Space. I'll let you guys review that. Great video. So what did we learn? So employee attendance is affected by job, organizational practices, absence culture, generational differences, labor market management, and employee characteristics. So there's a lot that affects employee attendance, okay? What do we need to do? We need to have innovative solutions to absenteeism. You can't have punishment, okay? You have to be able to think outside the box and keep the staff happy, or else you develop a culture that absenteeism will loom. Turnover is very costly to an organization. Whatever cost, try to keep the nurses in the organization happy. The turnover will end up affecting the organization and the money that they will be able to make. It also will affect staff education as far as skill level, and that ultimately will affect patient care. So patient satisfaction is going to be playing into that as well. So if you don't have nice staff, good staff, patients aren't going to be happy. It's a evil cycle. Always try to improve the work environment. So you always want to try to keep a healthy work environment. At all costs, you want to promote interprofessional relationships and collaboration. And having transparent leadership is key. Okay. Again, like the last quote from the other slide, it doesn't matter how great the employees are. If the managers aren't just as great or even better, it's not going to work out, and ultimately there's going to be some unhappy people, and that's just going to keep multiplying. All right, here's the references, and I thank you for watching.